You are now listening to the Process This podcast, where we talk about the ins and outs of business in the amusement industry. Episode 2 features Grady Hinchman from Altitude Trampoline Parks. Hey Grady, welcome to the podcast. Tell us all about who you are and your background.
Eric, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. My name's Grady. I'm with Altitude Trampoline Park. I am the vice chair on the IATP board of directors. I'm also a vice chair for the franchise advisory board for Altitude the brand. Fairly new in this space, but I'm loving the FEC world and excited to talk about it.
Nice. So, what are some of the biggest challenges of operating a trampoline park?
The unexpected, really. You can go into a day with a plan. You can go into the day with a routine. But when you are dealing in this space that has a lot of different avenues of whether it's the attraction offerings, the staff offerings, the food offerings, all those things are what you want to run perfectly, but that's typically not the case all the time. So being able to have your head on a swivel and react the right way to find a solution to fix whatever might pop up that day is probably the biggest challenge. But the reward is once it's done correctly and you can work that into your day-to-day business and see the success of that effort is super rewarding. So you can turn a negative into a positive really quickly. How
would you prepare for the chaos? Like, is there a way to prevent this stuff or be ready for chaos?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's finding the right team. You want to have a leadership team in place that can handle that. A lot of people that come into this space have some retail background, restaurant background. Some have some FEC background. I mean, that's really good to look for, but there's really no training for it until you're actually in the middle of it. And when I say chaos, I don't want that to have a negative connotation by any means, because seeing these families come in and have a great experience, when the kids are allowed to have a little bit of freedom and run wild and really enjoy your facility, to me that's a positive type of chaos. So I would say just equipping your team with the right skills to have 360 view of your facility, whether it's just the guests, the staff that's working for them, and the overall facility. Having a good finger on the pulse of each of those avenues is going to give your team the right tools for success, for sure.
Nice. I was thinking, what are some processes, maybe having processes in place, or what are some things that you teach your team, and maybe having crossover skills, is that something important too? Yeah,
our team, we have a lot of young employees. It's the first job. It's the first time they're really getting into the workforce. So we really shop when we're looking for the right people for these teams for personality. We can equip them with the skills to run the facility or to manage the point of sale or to have oversight on our guests, but we can't teach them to be confident in what they say. We want to make sure that they feel ready to address a situation if it comes their way and not be too afraid or shy. So when we go through our training regimens, we really try to empower our people with a positive attitude and confidence in what they're speaking on. That can just be the menu items behind the counter on the board about what we're offering as far as our jump tickets, or that could be addressing two little boys that are wrestling around and that's just not allowed. So we want to make sure we equip them with the tactics to diffuse those situations or best explain the products that we offer. And then once they feel confident in whatever they're talking about, they become one of your superstar employees. So if it's something that we can do that equips them with a skill that they can use further down the road in their career, whether it's with us or something else, making sure that when they start with us, we empower them to feel confident in what they're talking about and what they're doing, then we've already started in developing someone for our team at the base level. So we really want to equip them with people skills more than anything. Once in a while, you'll get 3 out of 10 that come in and already got it, and you're like, wow, these people are ahead of the game. This is the kind of people we're looking for. But not everybody comes in that way. So we want to make sure that if there's somewhere we can develop somebody, that we grab onto that, feed it, and let them become one of the all-stars as well.
Nice. Speaking of equipping people with skills in this industry, can you talk about IATP and what it is and what's coming up?
Yeah, for sure. We have Well, we'll go back a little bit. I went to my first IATP just after COVID in Las Vegas, the IATP show. And it was kind of eye-opening because we had only seen really what the brand had offered. A little bit from the IAPA show. I only went for a day, and it was extraordinarily overwhelming. Just like, whoa, this is FEC on steroids. So when I went to the ITP, I was like, I'm going to get some more information, and I was really, really impressed and excited that it's where a lot of the major brands kind of take off their brand hats and put on their industry hat, and they look for ways to push the industry forward, whether it was safety, whether it was innovative products, ways to run your facility better. They had a little bit of everything there, and I thought it was it was scaled down to a way that I could really take all that information in and process it versus an IAPA, which obviously is an amazing show now and it's a different story. But for new people coming into this industry, or people that are still wanting to learn more of the from the safety side and not the wow factor side, I feel like the IAPA show is very wow factor. But the safety and education side, IATP really prides himself in that. So the first one was right after COVID. It wasn't great attendance because it was Vegas after COVID, and everyone's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And then, following that, I got very involved. I went to the next show, and it was outstanding. I met with Bethany, who was the government relations individual on our board, and she's like, we need to get some new blood in here. Would you be interested in potentially being a part of the board, and sharing your insights and ideas and things that you've learned and things that you'd like to see? And I thought about it for a little while because there is a time commitment, and I want to make sure that my business is always at the forefront. But there was just such an opportunity for me to learn along the way, as well as maybe throw in a little nugget once in a while that could potentially help somebody else. So I decided to take the leap and get involved. So since then, we've been able to grow our membership base. It was tough coming out of COVID to get the membership base back up to a good number, and we're getting there. We've got nearly all the major, I say major brands in the trampoline space, like the Urban Airs, the Sky Zones, Altitudes, Flight, Launch, Get Air. We're seeing all the major brands start to get involved because we want to uniform standards. We want to have uniformity when it comes to the industry standards more than anything. Understanding any government relations or government changes that come out in our space so that we can educate our members and make sure that they are ahead of it before finding out that their state has some sort of legislation change or an incident that took place that's going to impact their type of business. So we have a big, we pride ourselves in having good insights in that department and making sure that we're, getting ahead of it for our members. That's just one avenue. We have, the AAI is partnered with the Skooks platform, where it's going to have an LMS capability on our website where owners and operators can go in and learn about the industry, take courses on the industry. It's included in the membership, so it's something that we're really trying to make sure that we educate anyone that's either been in this space or looking to come in this space, so that they can maximize the return on their investment, run a safe and fun facility, but at the same time continue to grow. This is an evolving industry. We want to make sure that we educate our members along the, go hand in hand and walk side by side with them when they go through this journey.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's all about educating people and, so that they know what to do to be successful. And I was wondering if you could explain, why should people join or become a member of IATP?
Yeah, I had the same question when people were asking me, you should join IATP. I was like, well, let me do a little bit of research. And, I was like, okay, there's some really good stuff here. But then there was also this other side of the coin where people were like, I don't really see the value in the membership. So when I joined the board and got, in the vice chair seat, we wanted to make it very clear that there are benefits to joining the IATP. It's not something you have to search for. It's not something that's just, that's nice to have or nice to know. So, when people are looking for the value in something, they want to see a monetary return on it. So we shifted our focus to include not only the education piece and the government relations piece, but let's find vendors and industry relationships that, kind of span across one brand to the other, that we could leverage our volume and say, hey, we would love to offer a discount of X, Y, or Z from your business to all of our members for joining our association. And I don't necessarily know if the question had not necessarily been asked at the scale that we finally started asking some of our supplier members, but they came out with their arms wide open saying, absolutely, we'd love to help you. I mean, we've built this relationship from a handful to, I think we're close to almost 20 different vendors, a part of our profitable Parks program. And what this is a discount program that you automatically are enrolled in once you join for the IATP membership. There's insurance incentives. There's food and beverage savings. There's a handful of different vendors that will give you a discount on the products for resale in your facility. You'd have to go into the website to get the full feel of it, but the money that can be saved will offset the membership cost for the IATP by tenfold. And it's a great relationship of people. The people that are part of the Profitable Park program, not only are they giving you a discount or offering some sort of savings, they're going to educate you on their product. They're going to educate you on how their product plugs in to your business. And I think I think that has more value than the discounts that you're getting. So we are opening it up to any of our suppliers, but the ones that have jumped on this program and wanted to be a part of it, we made sure that they had an education piece just as much as they had a discounted offering.
Nice. And so speaking of all those benefits with different products, different services, how does that play into the trend of diversifying your trampoline park or adventure park, whatever you want to call it? I know things have changed over the last 5-10 years.
That's a great question. And for the past few years, a lot of the suppliers that were a part of the IATP and our shows were key elements that you have to have. And it was very trampoline centric. It was, the manufacturers and things that were really handcuffed to trampoline parks specifically. Over the past year and a half, we've really tried to evolve that. It's definitely our core, but we want to make sure that we were more inclusive to other adventure style parks. So when we looked for supplier partners and education opportunities, we wanted to look at it from a wider lens. So some of the newer suppliers that we put in are, sound systems, payroll systems, hiring and acquiring talent programs, training sessions, like with different people, where it's just leadership that they're working to focus on, versus it being how do you run a trampoline park. It's how do you build a strong leader. So we really expanded the lens to make it more attractive to build our member base, but at the same time it also allows maybe some opportunities that we didn't necessarily think of as trampoline operators, because we run trampoline parks, this is irrelevant to us. Well, now we're seeing things that could potentially grow our business and not necessarily change our core. So I think that's been a really cool innovation, is to take, suppliers, especially the suppliers, and the education opportunities, and just span it across a wider range and not just necessarily trampoline parks.
That was great. So speaking of all these suppliers and, education and everything like that, can you tell us about the IATP event that's happening in September?
Yeah, it's going to be in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida, literally 50 to 100 yards away from the ocean. So we found a venue that we feel that, you might, if you came and didn't learn anything, you still got a great tan. But that won't be the case, because it's going to be a really great show. We're packed full of education sessions. We're packed full of, I think we have one booth or table left for a supplier, so our trade show floor will be full. It has a lot of returning suppliers that we've worked with before, but there's also a lot of new. So if people have been to our shows before, they're going to meet a lot of new faces, a lot of new innovations when it comes to different products and services that the IATP has partnered with. And at the same time, we restructured it to make sure that it's not just for owners or C-level executives. We have a general manager track. So if there are owners or operators that are a little hands-off and their general managers are running the park, there's going to be things there that, there's maybe some approvals that their bosses might need to make, but there's going to be education sessions that they can attend to really get something out of being a part of the association, but attending the show. So we didn't want to just link. A lot of times these shows are limited to the big decision makers. come in, see a great product, see something that, that's got a price tag to it that, you're going to need an owner or a CEO's approval to even, have a look at it. That's great. But to educate your front line or to educate your general manager and your management team, we wanted to have that option too. So we built in a program or a path for the general managers to attend as well. And
awesome.
It's in sunny Florida, so let's not forget that. We're going to kick it off with a flip-flop fiesta. It's going to be just a meet and greet for everybody to come in, wear a shirt like this that's got flowers and stuff all over it, and just enjoy talking to like-minded people in the same industry, because sometimes it's hard to have those conversations with strangers unless they're in your industry, and then it's just like your best friends immediately be like, oh my gosh, I go through that, or oh, what a great idea, I could use that. I think that's probably one of the strongest things for these types of shows is the networking. We just try to provide guardrails for everyone to follow and offer them some, networking content. Hey, did you see that breakout this afternoon with, Cheryl Golf? I never thought about that for leadership, like those sorts of things. And then I always thought that the trade show networking was probably one of the strongest parts. I mean, meeting people in the industry that have one location or 50 locations, there's somewhere you can plug in and have, some common denominators to discuss, which is pretty cool.
Speaking of that, I was going to ask you, is this a good event to go to if you're brand new? Obviously it's, or even if you've had a lot of experience, is it good for new and old operators?
Absolutely. I think that it is probably one of the best ones to go to. Like I told you, my first experience in the FEC was going to IAPA for a day, and I was like, what did I get myself into? This is
crazy.
This is humongous. And then the IATP, and I'm not saying it's scaled down by any means, but it just has a different approach. They're going for the core things that you need to have to grow upon. And then the IATP is an easy show to attend because you have this core that you have established for how you want your business, and now you can expand upon it with the new wow factor situations that you might come across at the IAPA show. The IATP, I feel like it helps you build that foundation. So for new park owners or park operators, absolutely worth it. We try to have a low barrier of entry with the membership, but a ton of value, and a ton of value right in your face. Everybody's an email, phone call away that's on the board. We're always ready to take that call and share our thoughts, listen, whatever we can do to help somebody that's getting into this industry. Because like I said, there's no roadmap for it. It's just how well you can navigate through it to make it profitable and a good experience for your guests and team.
So I know a lot of people are going to get an education at this event, but if you had advice, if Grady Hinchman had advice for new or existing trampoline park owners, what would be your biggest piece of advice to them?
Be humble and have humility. Don't come into this thinking you know everything. Don't come into this thinking your way is the best way. Come into this as open as possible. You'll be able to filter through the useful and the not useful information, but never turn it off. Always be a sponge to, I learned a lot from operators that have done this for 6 months. I've learned a lot from operators that have done this for 10 years. My biggest strength, I think, is being resourceful. So I would encourage people to be resourceful. If you do know something and you feel confident in it, still talk about it. If you're not sure, be humble enough to ask questions. There's no bad questions because this industry, in the grand scheme of things, is not really that old. So there's still a lot of innovation and a lot of learning to be done. So my biggest thing would be humble enough to ask questions, even if it's embarrassing. Like, there's no bad question. If you come into this and you have an ego or think that you know everything, the industry will eat you alive. But if you come in willing to listen, learn, and then know which information that you're getting is applicable, or it's time to dig a little bit deeper, do that. I have made decisions in our industry without thinking, as deep as I could as far as putting a certain product in or trying a certain pricing structure. And some were home run, and some were like, oops, I should have asked a few more questions before I did that. And I might have been able to avoid it. You learn a lot from your misses and your failures, but it's nice to avoid them too. So my biggest recommendation would be is just be a sponge. Go out there, ask a lot of questions. If you're not sure which brand you want to be a part of, which attraction you want to add in, how many people do you need on staff, which merchant processor to use, talk to all of them. Take the education. The education in a conversation usually doesn't cost you a dime. It gets more expensive if you made a bad decision because you didn't, go through the process of educating yourself.
So, going back to the IATP event, what are you most excited about, and do you have any other things to shout out?
Yeah. I live in Florida, so having it in Florida is very exciting to me. I think especially as close as the proximity to Orlando, I think that there's going to be some local FEC owners and operators that are going to attend, and I'm pretty excited to network at a more local level with some people that are, in our own neighborhood. I think the thing that I'm probably the most excited for is going to be the time to talk with people that are coming for the first time to the show. Get their insights, talk to them, understand, why they got into it. What are they most excited for? Because it's kind of a double-edged thing. I really want to grow, my business, but I'm passionate about the IATP, and I think that the show success can dictate the association's success. And I think that this show is going to be exciting. So everyone getting together and speaking the same language of this strange FEC world is going to be probably my favorite part. I'm pretty excited for the flip-flop fiesta. That's going to be a good time. Partying on the beach, having a nice time in the sunshine. You can't go wrong there. But there's also a lot of new suppliers that are coming in. So I like to see and get their feedback, how they feel that the show went. So, and we are going to be doing early registration this year. The conference is at the Margarita Beach Resort, September 9th through Wednesday, September the 11th. We touched on it a little bit about the flip-flop fiesta, but there's an additional program going on starting Monday where we're going to do trampoline court inspection training. The attendees will learn on site at a local park with, it can be general managers, it can be owners. They'll have 2 separate tracks that they can follow for different sessions throughout the show. But the trampoline court inspection training is really cool because this will allow you to stay in compliance. If you wanted to get an operator from your organization certified, they can then inspect your courts depending on which state you're in. Will have different criteria that you need to fulfill. But it's nice to have someone on your own, within your own organization that can facilitate these inspections. Not because there's a leniency to it, but it's someone that knows your business and can inspect it that way instead of someone coming in from the outside and inspecting it, by the book with a little bit tighter guardrails. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, there'll be educational sessions. There's over 30 educational sessions this year, so come ready to learn. And then the exhibit hall, tons of networking, tons of food, tons of beverages. It's going to be a blast. What kind of convention do you get to go to outside of IAPA where you can play games, try the things out that you potentially are going to put in your business instead of just taking the individual's word for it that's standing at a booth. So it's very a unique space that we're able to operate in, which we're pretty pumped for.
That's awesome. Hey, Grady, this was an awesome podcast. Where can people find you online?
You can message me or reach out via LinkedIn. It's probably the best. I check that often. I get a lot of people that are coming into space or have IATP questions. You can always reach out to Alexis Kirsten. She can facilitate the information over to the board for us to reach out. And whether it's one question about membership, a supplier, an operation, we're here to help. In any capacity for people in our industry. And it's not just the trampoline parks. We're trying to really expand that by the offerings that we're going to bring to this year's show.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being an awesome guest on our podcast, and we're looking forward to IATP.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. Glad to share, man. This is awesome.